Right, continuing discussion of attraction. It feels kind of weird to say that because the video that I actually provide to my students right before this one was actually recorded in a previous semester for a different class. So it's almost like a time jump. Like, there I am with shorter hair for a different class, and bam, here I am pretending like I just recorded that video. Then the video just went over the three like big things that have been correlated with attraction: similarity, mere exposure, and physiological arousal. So in this video, I'm going to start going into more detail. In particular, I'm going to go into more detail about similarity. All right, what do we know about similarity and its relationship to attraction, to interpersonal attraction or romantic attraction? All right, so you might have heard of the term birds of a feather flock together. You know, that people who are similar, they're drawn to each other, they find each other, they hang out together, and this also is true for relationships. Even though you might have heard the expression opposites attract, it's not actually true. I mean, not common, for most people, you are attracted to people who are similar to you in some way. And so we have this concept, the similarity attraction hypothesis. With the similarity attraction hypothesis, the prediction is that people tend to form relationships with others who have the same attitudes, values, interests, and demographics. And by demographics, I mean like your census data stuff. So things like race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, neighborhood, you know, like where you're from. Now, even though you're going to know people who don't match perfectly on demographics, but there's a high tendency, there's a high correlation. You tend to end up with people similar to you. We also have this term, I always mispronounce it, so I got to do it slow. Assortative mating. Assortative mating. Anything with multiple syllables, folks. I'm sure you probably noticed I start tripping on it. All right. So this is where the similarity attraction hypothesis is applied to romantic relationships. All right. So the general similarity attraction hypothesis can explain things like friendships. You know, like when you pick a workplace setting, you often like working with people who are similar to you. You find friends that are similar to you. When you go out and get engaged in hobbies, those people already are similar to you because they have the same hobby, but you might end up going from different hobby groups to hobby groups or something, or online forums, because you're looking for people who are most similar to you. Well, specifically, we can apply this to romantic relationships. And so we see that the vast majority of people marry people who look and sound similar to themselves. I always find that interesting. That always makes me think of when I had my first child and some of the neighbors were trying to figure out which parent they look like. And I'm like, come on, folks. And I always worry when people do that, especially since, you know, I know people who have adopted children, or they had to use donor sperm or donor eggs because of fertility issues, and I'm like, don't focus so much on that. Maybe that's not what's essential. But you know, they were trying to figure out, and then one of my neighbors, they just finally said, you know what? I'm realizing you and my husband. You know, they said you and I'm not going to use his name. He may not want me to use his name. All right, but you and him, you look remarkably alike. I'm like, we do not. But then they broke it down and like, all right, you don't have the exact same hair color, but it's in the same range. You are both white, and you have different eye color, but you know, not drastically different in terms of eye features. You both have wide shoulders. You're both kind of like tallish, but not super tall height. And I was just kind of like, oh, you know, they were just kind of going down a list, and I'm like, oh, I guess in some ways we do look alike. And the most freaky thing was, when my child was of a certain age, we found a picture of my husband's grandmother, his maternal grandmother, and it looked exactly like her. We're like, whoa, that's amazing. They're like twins. Well, we know which side of the family you take after. And then shortly thereafter, we found a picture of I know I probably just touched the microphone. Sorry about that. My aunt at a similar age, and they look like twins. And it was that moment like, okay, we got some of the same features swimming around in our DNA, apparently. All right, but I swear, we do not look exactly alike. And we're not related or anything like that. Don't be Don't be thinking that sort of stuff. All right. And so, but people, when you rate attractiveness, people tend to end up with people who are similar in attractiveness. And then it is so common then when we don't, it becomes a big issue. Like there's this thing that I've seen on social media recently where this one, I don't like the term influencer. I don't know if they would, this one person on social media, this one creator, this one person on social media was kind of harassed because they happened to post a picture of them with their husband, and their husband was like a personal trainer, super fit. Probably most people would consider him super hot, and the person, the creator, was not super fit. I consider them very attractive, but they were, you would probably consider them heavier, and many people who, especially those who focus on body size, would probably consider them less physically attractive than their husband. And there were all these ridiculous, and people on the internet, they love to do the troll comments, especially if they have an anonymous account. But even people without anonymous accounts who had like their real name in their username were just jumping on and saying, doesn't make sense. Nope, make this make sense. And it's like, why? That's a couple. They're in love. Why can they not be in love? It's like, no. You have to be the same level of attractiveness. You have to have the same level of physical attractiveness, or it does not make sense. And it's just, it's upsetting for this person. It was supposed to be a nice picture of like, oh, look at my husband and I doing something fun together. And people are like, no, you don't get him. All right. So, but generally, when you look at people as a group, you often have a correlation. And as I said, this person who got picked on, I felt like they were very physically attractive. The difference was in body size only. And they were not obese. They just weren't super buff like him. All right. I'm worried I'm going to run out of recording space soon. Let's see. Similarity. Why do we end up with people similar to us? Remember how we have confirmation bias and we like to feel right? Well, when you hang out with or marry or date people who are similar to you, it validates your own worldviews. If you have certain political, religious beliefs, social, philosophical beliefs, you end up with somebody who has similar beliefs and you're like, yes, okay, that makes sense. You get how that makes sense. Thank you for validating my worldview. And so it's one of those many situations where we like to feel right. We like to, feel that we are thinking the right way. And, all right, so that's what I'm going to say about similarity. Next video, we're going to talk more about mere exposure and proximity, a related concept.